see before. And so here I was, living a successful atheist life. I became a high school English teacher. I became head of the faculty at a big 3-campus private school in Melbourne. Life's humming along. Then a series of accidents happened that brought physical trauma, that then brought emotional trauma and torment. I went into a state of panic and anxiety. I hyperventilated. I lost my sense of smell and taste. I couldn't sleep. I maybe only could fall asleep 2 or 3 hours a night, and I was losing weight rapidly because I'd lost my sense of taste. I literally would have the shakes and have to, at work, I'd have to come out of my classroom, go into my office, shut the door, and just literally just shake and hyperventilate until I calmed down and go back in. It was very challenging to, people were noticing because I wore fitted clothes and suits and things, and they were getting very loose on me. And I was so tormented. Now, looking back now, what happened to me, my reaction in going to that, I was traumatized in a state of shock, and it was an overreaction to what had happened. And I was so exhausted. This went on for about 9 months, barely sleeping, and losing weight, and just really traumatized. And I felt that what had happened to me could not be corrected by any specialist or psychologist. And I was so exhausted, I was contemplating taking my life simply to get some rest. I was thinking of ways of doing it that would look like an accident for the sake of my family. What happened in this stage was I got a phone call from the sister of someone I'd had, who'd been my boyfriend a number of years before, from Melbourne Uni, to say that he'd just taken his life. Now, what had happened to him, Stephen, was that he had developed schizophrenia, and his parents were actually pastors, and they never actually witnessed to me. I don't actually know if they were saved. I'll get on to Stephen, the continuation of that story, but he was tormented by voices, hallucinations. He also kept coming off his medication because he didn't like the side effects of that. He'd had enough. And so he took his life. I was so shocked by this phone call because here I was thinking of doing the same. What happened though was this suicidal thinking came off my mind. And I believe it's because the soul tie was broken, because I'd had a physical relationship. So this is something that apparently used to be taught in the churches a lot more. In the Bible, when you become married, you become one with your partner, your souls are aligned. But also the Bible says that if you have relations with a harlot, you become the one. So there's like a spiritual, emotional soul connection between people. It's not just who you have physical relationships, but the main soul ties that can be problematic are sexual. But it's whenever there's an abuse or a perversion. So the problem with having sex outside of marriage is that it's an ungodly sexual relationship, and that can open sort of demonic doors to perversion and so on. So what I believe happened when Stephen died is that some sort of spiritual soul tie was broken off. And then my mind went clear, and I thought, Julie, you're not going to die, you're going to get a miracle. You're going to search till you get a miracle. Now, I didn't know anything about miracles, but I believe God in his mercy planted the idea, search till you get a miracle. And I just thought, I'm not going to die, I'm going to get a miracle. Now, I had always been a very clean living person, that I have never smoked, never touched a drug, I don't drink, I've never been drunk, I never was a drinker. And I was always in and out of health food shops, getting my brain, getting my vitamins, getting water filters and so on. And I'd always seen these magazines, free magazines at the front called like Nova, Living Now. And I'd taken some home, and every second page is something about a new recipe or a diet or a form of exercise or water filters or whatever it might be. But then every other page is a type of new age healing, or they call them modalities. So many modalities. None of these are new. They're all what existed when, when Deuteronomy was written. They're just repackaged today. So I've never looked into these sort of alternative healing things before, because I'd never had a need. But here I was traumatized, and I didn't think it was possible for a human to correct what had happened to me and get the trauma off, because I've never been a weak person. I've been raised like, if you fall over, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, Julie, and you just get on with it. But here I was, I could not pick myself up and dust myself off. I couldn't get over the trauma. And I couldn't see any way that talking to anyone would lift it off. But anyway, I took these magazines home, And the promises in these things are that they can reverse aging, so I was slightly interested in this at that stage, even though I was much younger then. Attract the perfect partner, heal any disease, reprogram your DNA, regrow missing body parts. It's like, these promises are outlandish. Now, we have Jesus. He can actually do those things. Yeah. I do pray for that agey thing from Jesus. And then, renew my youth like an eagle, Jesus, that one, please. And so these promises, it's really funny, if a church every now and then puts Jesus heals cancer, man, the 6:30 reports are, bombarding them and mocking them. But you've got all these New Age practitioners promising the world. Who's holding them accountable and asking for where the proof is? It's like there's a veil of protection. It's like there's a blindfold over them. And so anyway, here I was in a desperate state of mind. So I was considering trying these things because I thought, how can they promise? They're promising much more than I need. So I thought I'd give them a try. And I thought I was being clever. I thought I was being discerning because, there's things like angel cards and clairvoyance and so on. I thought that's total nonsense and rubbish. So I thought I was being clever because there's a whole area within the New Age that uses the language of science or psychology or medicine to give the impression that it is valid and scientifically tested and so on. But it's not. It's all pseudoscience. So I was trying some of these things, or I decided to try some of these things. And just the background, most people who are into the New Age or practice in the New Age, they believe in an idea of God, but it's not a personhood of a specific person or God like Jesus. It's in an idea that there's a general creator that's an energy or a force out there that you're trying to harness and utilize for your purposes. So they use names like creator, source, universal energy, the universe, life force, Mother Earth. You could use whatever name you like. And the aim of a lot of the practices, things like yoga, for example, or meditation of the soul, where you empty your mind and you try and have out-of-body experiences by imagining and focusing on a light above your head. The aim is enlightenment or God consciousness or self-divination or consciousness. They're trying to have a revelation that they themselves are divine in nature. If they're divine in nature, they are their own creators and they can create their own existence and being. So your reality can be different to someone else's because they are their own creator. So that's how it accounts for differences in what they believe. And so this is clearly a lie. It's making them self-sufficient and no need for an external God when you have a God nature. So that's sort of their belief. And so they're doing all these things, the fasting, the vegan diet, all these cruel things, meditating, whatever, because they're trying to work up something that actually is a lie. But there can be false forms of revelation in the New Age, which is why you've got the teachings of Buddha and Muhammad and so on. There can be false revelations and teachings that way. And lots of counterfeit healing in the New Age, which I'm going on to talk about. So they're actually chasing a lie. And many people in the New Age, the chase or the search goes on and on. Many people who practice New Age therapies practice at least half a dozen because they're firstly wanting to make an income and not have a stressful real day job. And so they're offering like a little range. But that shows you in itself, one of the therapies or modalities that promises to reprogram DNA, reverse aging, regrow any body part. There's people who practice that, but then they practice things that promise less. You think, well, why would they need to offer anything less if that one can do everything? And while I was on my journey trying all these therapies, losing literally thousands of dollars a week, because I was going out like a junkie, trying to get healed of this trauma. And I was encountering people who knew people that I'd been to like the week before. Oh yes, Simon's doing our course in quantum touch. I'm thinking, why would Simon want to do quantum touch when he's doing the theta healing? And theta healing promises the regrow body parts, heal any condition. Why would he want to learn something lesser? And so the alarm bells and the red flags are there. But it's very interesting. So yes, the New Age is searching for enlightenment, but they're searching amongst lies, and so that search goes on. And what they're actually searching for is the Holy Spirit. but they don't want to surrender that idea that they are their own God. They don't want to bow to the idea that there are things you have to give up if you're a Christian. And that's what I thought. There's lots of rules in Christianity. You can't do this, you can't do that. It seems like a party pooper type religion. When you're from an atheist point of view, with the New Age, you believe in what you like. It's like pick a box. And the only moral code you have there is what you choose to believe. Okay, so there's no sense of rules, there's no sense of sin except for what you would choose as your own moral code. So it's very much people who are drawn to the New Age or into the practices and what they're teaching is very much the same sin that Adam and Eve were tempted by in Genesis 3:5. Your eyes will be open and you will be like God. Like if you practice this, then you will realize that you have that knowledge. You don't need another God, you are divine in nature. So that's what they're caught up in. The other thing that is on the New Age side is big on the marketing because they charge a lot of money. Every person I went to in the New Age charges more than it costs to see a GP or a specialist, hundreds of dollars. A typical background, this is very much women, mainly women searching through these things, but you'll have some charismatic men drawn to it because they can make a living from these things. Men go slightly more for the UFO business, which is people out there swearing that UFOs and aliens exist. So I'm not going to go there today because I don't have any experience with that, except my brother was interested when he was a teenager, and he said to me, that UFOs are attracted to the Star of David. And I said, great, I'm going to paint one above your bedroom and I can take you away. So that's the only experience I have with that. The other thing, within the New Age, sometimes you've got people who practice a range of stuff, and there can be truth in some things they say. It's the same with the way Satan works. He'll often speak a bit of a lie, but he'll lead you away from the truth. So for example, later on I'll speak a list of, as Christians, who we need to be careful of when we're seeking various things. For example, a naturopath. Naturopaths are good if you want diet advice, if you want exercise advice, various other things, but there can be things. Every naturopath is going to have done different little courses on the side, and there's a different blend of what they offer. And some either falls into pseudoscience, so it's just quackery, it's medical nonsense, or it strays into energy healing or balancing, and therefore tips into the spiritual and opens demonic doors. So there's a lot of discernment needed, a lot of research, and I will say that if you ever went anywhere and someone suggests doing a particular type of blood test or something else and you're not sure, just say, I'll give it some thought. You go home and just search your Wikipedia. I found that Wikipedia will tell you if something's a pseudoscience or quackery or nonsense and whether there's any validity in it. It's not a Christian Pentecostal search engine, so it's not going to tell you whether it's demonic or a spiritual danger. But if it says that it's pseudoscience, that is enough of a warning. Firstly, you'd be wasting your money because there's no research to show that this is effective, but it usually means it's dwelling in that spiritual, fake, demonic realm as well.